Hey guys, it's Matt. This is the fourth attempt at a reality diagram, but they're all completely different. This one is specific to Not Nilk distraction tactics that combines the Vitruvian man with the way out and the way in. And I understand this image is offensive. People are saying and throwing whatever. There's no possible way, Matt, you could be this bad of a drawer. Is that a word? I am. I assure you, I could clean it up a bit, but there's no point. There's no point. And people, I can't even read this, Matt. You don't have to read it. It's mostly for me. If this works, and this in our consensus is what reality is doing through not Nilk distraction tactics, then we can get some help from a few folks cleaning it up a bit. You don't need to see much of anything if you're driving. It's basically just think of the what is it called? The Trivial Pursuit game piece. You go around the board and you collect 6 pies before you're allowed to enter the center and try to win the game. So just think of it that way. However, the core or the center here, I imagine it to be the event horizon, the core of the event horizon that produces the singularity. And it's lower. It's say 50 feet down than the outer edge. So it's like you're looking down the barrel of a trumpet or a funnel, where the outer edge would be very close to you, but if you spin a marble around, it'll spin around and then go down, 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 down. I just think it's better that way, not a two-dimensional Trivial Pursuit game piece. And we've talked about this before. Trivial Pursuit, it's trivia. No, it's literal. It's a trivial pursuit. If you're an expert and a master of all those questions regarding arts and entertainment, sports and leisure, with all the crap that Trivial Pursuit presents you, that's a trivial pursuit. That's a wasted life. It's telling you right there. The truth flows out all around us. But just think of the Trivial Pursuit game piece. 6 different categories of distraction. You don't need to see this. We'll start with the Vitruvian Man from Leonardo DiCaprio da Vinci. Probably not what was intended by Da Vinci, but it is the best image for me to express a point. And you guys have heard me do variations of this a few times over the years, so I'll keep it quick, 2 minutes or less. Vitruvian Man represents a real person. Vitruvian Man, to me, is the battleground, the soul. One side, one arm is being pulled back to the spiritual realm. Billy Madison's, "Go to your home! Why don't you go home?" Go home to the spiritual realm. The material realm, this plane of existence, the not Nilk, material pleasures, the 7 deadly sins, everything here in society and culture is pulling very hard on the other arm. It's a battleground. To me, the center of the battleground between the spiritual on one side and the material on the other is soul. Soul is the battleground, to me, the middle point between the spiritual and the material. Think of soul as Gettysburg, the Battle of Gettysburg, where North fights South, the as above fights the as below. George Bush creatures at Gettysburg. Soul is where the two could potentially come together in the battle. So it's pretty simple. Vitruvian Man, this is a real person. It's probably not an NPC. We don't know how many of us there are. We'll talk about it some other time. One arm is being tugged by the material world, and it's tens of thousands of tricks, lies, deceptions, minions. The other arm, if the real person even realizes they have the other arm, is still in real people rooted in the spiritual realm. It doesn't seem fair because one side has millions of minions pulling on the rope, and what does the other side have? The other side, people are meant to forget about. They're told it doesn't even exist. However, of course, it's far, 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 far more powerful. And you have the ability to pull all the other minions over with one little jerk of the rope. Even if the George Bush creature on the other end is turned into like the Hulk, you just pull him over with the spiritual side. But the middle is soul. The battleground, at least in this example, is soul. So the body between the arms is soul. One arm rooted in the material, one arm to the spiritual. Anybody saying, well, isn't soul and spirit the same thing? I'm no expert at this, but no, okay? No. The best way I've heard it described over the years, no. An NPC or any sort of automaton here, or even a certain animal that you might not believe is as real as you. Every body here of flesh needs a spark plug and something to animate it, which is soul. Some souls, they say, some people say, are local to this plane of existence. Soul, to a lot of smart people, is not the same as spirit. It allows spirit to engage in this material realm through something called soul. I ain't no expert at it, but that resonates with me. And when I have my inner knowing turned to 10, way more than saying it's the same thing. Matt, why are you using the thumbnail images? Surely Alame stock photo and spaghetti scrimmages haven't gotten their greasy, grimy gopher guts fingers all over this image. There's no copyright. Well, I'm doing it out of respect for the model that posed for Da Vinci, the real Vitruvian Man that he took off the street and paid 4 cents to pose nude. He's not exactly the shrinkage embarrassment that Adam is at the top of the Sistine Chapel, or David in that marble sculpture. It's a shrinkage embarrassment as well. It's a little bit better than that, but he's not Dirk Diggler either. So just out of respect for the real Vitruvian Man who was paid 4 cents, I don't want to zoom in on the penis. Okay, bottom left here, I drew the Vitruvian Man. Again, if you're driving or something, you don't need to see this. I'll walk you through every part. The right, yeah, laugh it up. That's my Vitruvian Man. The left hand here is associated with the material realm, is the way back in, it says, to not Nilk reality, where we are now. Like if we were at a mall map, here, you are here, we are here in the middle of that mess, that circle right now. The right hand here of Vitruvian Man, it says the way out to spiritual self. Now, I drew there. Don't read into it, guys. Left hand path and right hand. There's no rhyme or reason to why I picked one hand and the other. I don't know anything about that occult horse shit. I don't want to know anything about that stuff. I don't think it has a damn thing to do with what I have to do here for myself. Go back and spend years reading these esoteric tomes on that bullshit. Anyway, sorry. So in this case, just happened to draw. I could have drawn it anywhere. Trust me. So the 6 pieces of the pie for, which is literally the Trivial Pursuit game piece, but remember, it spirals down like looking into the end of a trumpet. The top pie, and it's not like you have to get a pie, just forget about the pieces in the Trivial Pursuit game that come out. Just 6 general segments or pie segments of how Not Nilk reality presents its distraction. It comes from the core. At the center is that core, the best, I don't know, for the diagram, if I could draw, I would draw the singularity core from Event Horizon that produces the distraction going outward through all of society and culture. So the top pie is fear. There's 6 pies, or 6 slices, we'll leave it at that. Fear. The one on the right you can't read. It says, I can't even read it. Let me get my paper out. Matt, that's really lame if you're presenting a diagram and you can't even read it. It is. It says learning, news, degrees, history. Somebody that's an expert, a PhD from Harvard at history, waste of time. Learning all what Not Nilk says is important for you to learn. Keeping up with the news. What I did between 2001 and 2004 or so, just watch the news thinking that's what a sophisticated gentleman of society did. I mean, until I wasted my time and realized it was a waste of time. Degrees. My friend used to say, well, Matt, you're doing nothing after you come home from work. Why don't you do something important like, your work will pay for it. Get a master's degree. And this is before I woke up to anything, but I was like, why? It just was like, no. Anyway, then the next pie on the right is love and lust. A gigantic slice of this reality for most people is consumed with relationships, love, lust, and all the other names that go along with it. My father, his whole life, when a relationship ended, he was just an absolute fish out of water. He would work he would work 23 and a half hours a day to get back into a relationship of some kind, as he just simply needed it. You complete me. He was not able to stand on his own, and nothing to do with sexual urges or anything. Just as a lot of people are built like this, and the society encourages it. Okay, the pie or slice, I'm not going to say pie anymore, slice at the bottom, pride. ego, status, wealth, the Lego my ego, the whole society, and how many different points are in each one of these slices that you could and they, of course, there's overlap. Learning degrees, somebody that has a PhD from Harvard, they hang it on the wall, that feeds the ego and the pride, but they should be separate slices. Moving around clockwise towards the left, basically 8 o'clock, 7 o'clock. Truth pursuits, this is the slice for us. We'll come back to it. And the slice at the top at 10 o'clock, entertainment. If I could draw, I would draw bread and circuses there for entertainment. So even though, but let's go back to the truth pursuits slice. Even that is part of the not nilk distraction. I drew one little path coming out of the truth pursuit slice that reaches the hand of the Vitruvian man that leads to the way out. The way out, the way back. So in each of these slices, I put little dots of pencil. You probably can't see it. But imagine the stars, the amount of stars that are in the sky. That many dots for each of the slices. And for each of the dots you engage with, for each slice, inside at the bottom it says, this is its field, its playing field, its game it's asking you to play. So the more you engage with how many dots in each category, the more it moves you down the spiral. Remember, you're looking into, say, a trumpet or a funnel. Moves you down closer to the core, to the back of the Event Horizon ship. The Event Horizon ship produced the black hole, the singularity. Why I'm using that, I don't know, for no reason. It just seemed appropriate for some reason. I'm not using it because of the term singularity or anything like that. It just seemed appropriate. Now, anybody and everybody can be profiled to see how many George Bush, H.W. Bush points of light or how many stars they've grasped per each slice that draws them down closer to the core of the reality distraction. So let's do, we don't all share the same people that we know, but maybe you know Christian Bale from The American Psycho. Let's do him. And the more I look at this, the more there is a reason that I probably did the core from the Event Horizon, the black hole singularity, because it is like an escape velocity. Yeah, I mean, honestly, I wasn't even consciously aware of why I was doing this, guys. I think sometimes the subconscious and unconscious just takes over. It's incredible. If I drew this like you're looking down a trumpet or a funnel, the more you're sucked down towards the core, the more impossible you need some sort of escape velocity to get back to the top and to transverse the Vitruvian man to find the spiritual side. So there's it's blatant why I used it, but I didn't even know why I used it till now, if that makes any sense. So let's profile somebody we all know. Let's do Christian Bale as the American Psycho. If you've ever seen that, it's like a cult, pretty bad movie, but it has this cult following at this point. So the more fears than Christian Bale as the American Psycho has, then each one of these dots, I should have put more dots like the stars, billions in each one. The not nilk has billions of ways to attach in each of these pies. I should have made these dots much clearer. Again, imagine as many as the stars in the sky for each one. So Christian Bale, he was like a killer in the movie, so he had no fear in that regard, but he was very afraid of losing his social status standing, right? So he had fears just like everyone else. Okay, that draws him down. Let's go over to the next one. Learning, news, degrees you carry. Probably had a master's degree or took pride in the not nilk degrees that were bestowed on the American Psycho. Maybe he was an expert in certain parts of history, so he could entertain his guests at cocktail parties. Or, okay, maybe not too many there. He's drawn down. Love, lust. Okay, that weird shit that the American Psycho was into, looking at himself in the mirror and all. Okay, a lot of weird shit going on there. That just sucked him down towards the core of the Event Horizon. At the bottom, pride. Oh yeah, American Psycho gets sucked down big here. Ego, pride, status, wealth. Was even worried at one point in the movie that his business card wasn't as nice. Just keeping up with the Joneses, ridiculous metrics of success. This is where the American Psycho Christian Bale gets sucked down right next to the core. Truth pursuits, none. I figured that, keeping up with the Joneses and society socialite status is all that matters in life. And entertainment. Of course, he was involved in all the mindless entertainment that anybody else would be. And even quoting Phil Collins songs or talking about Phil Collins songs, I think, while he was, whatever he was doing to those two prostitutes. So, okay, he's sucked so far down close to the core by being attached or latching on to so many different George H.W. Bush points of light that there's no escape for him. Okay, now I'm not bringing in Saturn Moon Matrix or anything like that. It just, I don't know exactly how that relates at this point, but no chance, let's just put it on the benign level, no chance to wake up, no chance to start dabbling in the pie here or the slice that says, it's in my mind now, this Trivial Pursuit stuff, I'll probably say pie the whole damn time. The truth pursuits, see, that is where it has really taken a lot of time to outline its distraction or to put forth its BS distraction that it wants. And the same principles apply in the truth pursuits. If you are abandoning all the other slices and you go into truth pursuits, because, the way they present the JFK assassination, somebody might say, Lee Harvey Oswald, that doesn't make sense. Or the way they present how the United States got involved in the Vietnam War. And then, we talked about people generally start pushing back on the news and they become a conservative because a $4.5 trillion behemoth where you see no benefit as a taxpayer, no benefit whatsoever, unless you're on Medicare and getting Social Security payments, you see no benefit. That doesn't make any sense. So then you become a conservative, but then it has littered that truth pursuit slice with more stars and more dots than any other almost. Because the idea is if it can draw you down towards the core, then the truth pursuit distraction is no different than the one above it, Ryan Seacrest and entertainment or fear. It's no different. So here I'm going to pick on those that are focused on Mudflood. I've been too hard on those focused on Mudflood because there's a way out. I was just for, I don't know how many years, all I did was the mall events and the pop gun events. That's all I did for years, and I came through it, so anybody can come through anything. But the closer you are to the truth pursuit distractions that it presents, and in many times the reality artificially presents them, so you'll get closer and be drawn down towards the core. There's still, I think, their strategy for the truth pursuit slice is much more evil genius planned out than the others. I mean, entertainment, what do they have to do? Some bad movies a few times a year, some bad music, some Ryan Seacrest running around, bring back Survivor, put Kelly Clarkson back on The Masked Singer, whatever. They don't have to do much for entertainment now. The people that, that get on their unicycle and pedal around inside the truth pursuit slice, they have a chance of finding that path out. So I think it has to work harder there. But each pursuit of truth that doesn't tell you one thing about who you really are, like just studying Mudflood all day. You've heard me say, well, let's just say you get it all right and you figure it all out. What does that do for you personally? Nothing. Absolutely nothing. If you figure out what happened to the side of the Pentagon, what does that do for you and what you're here to do in life, or to connect to aspects of you that are a new world of mine? Took me months, non-corporeal, not walking around in the physical. Well, I figured it took me 12 years, but I figured out what happened to the side of the Pentagon. So what? What does that do for you? Nothing, honey. Don't do nothing for you. And in most cases, there's overlap, of course. Truth pursuits, end of the world stuff, the next giant meteorite is coming in, or Planet X, or it's hugely centered around fear. All those dots and stars in the truth pursuit slice bridge right over into fear. And they bridge into entertainment via the addiction side of truth pursuits, the addiction to fear inside the truth community. Deep down, people that pursue truth, there's an addiction that comes along with it, where you want to be scared. You prefer the bad news, not you, but many of us, and of course I did for years as well. You prefer, as an addiction, the bad news over the good news. Be honest with yourself. If a certain channel that you follow comes forth and says, "Great news today," you didn't want to hear about it. If it said, "The worst news I've gotten in a lifetime," you were clicking on that. This is all stuff that's bad, dude, that we have to realize we've all been part of it, and we have to separate from the addiction side of Truth Pursuits. This Not Milk system is expert. In this regard, they know us better than we know ourselves. The path out inside the slice called Truth Pursuits is extremely hard to find. I think the path is unique to all of us. I don't think it's one size fits all. I really don't. What I'm here to do for myself is probably completely different than what Greg needs to do, or you and others. But the path out is towards the top of the outer cone of the trumpet, or the top of the funnel. See, one thing is for sure here, if you want the path out. The more dots you touch or cling on to, or to give your attention and energy to, inside the Truth Pursuit slice, or any of the slices, I don't think we have to be we have to be perfect, but as you touch more and more dots, it's drawing you down closer to the core distraction. So maybe you have nothing in most of the slices, but your life is still just riddled in fear. It's drawing you down inside the trumpet or inside the funnel, where you just are too far away from the path out. Or you're too into ego, pride, wealth, status, or too much into entertainment. I don't think there's so wrong watching some horrible reviews about Rings of Power and the same old people on YouTube bitching in the same old way. And then I watched a few of the episodes and they were as horrible. They were actually more horrible than the people bitching about it on YouTube. "Oh, Matt, you watched a TV show. You're screwed." No, I don't think we have to be perfect. Okay, there's a lot of reasons. I don't think it's appropriate to get into now. Why I don't think we have to be perfect to get to the escape velocity, to get the heck out. The path out is at the top, goes through soul, the Vitruvian man, to the spiritual way out. How many dots can I touch in each of these slices and attach to and give energy and attention to in the Not Milk system and be drawn too far down to get out? I don't know. How the hell am I supposed to know? But the principle is sound. The less you touch, the more you rise up towards the top, and you're drawn away, or you're allowed to walk away from the event horizon, singularity, core, distraction, drawing everybody down closer to it. Most of our friends and family, they're touching thousands of dots in each one of these slices. Maybe they're not pinned against the damn event horizon core with their head pinned against it like a gravity well or whatever, but come on, man, they're so far down. And big religion is here too. Big religion. Doesn't matter what it is, anywhere around the world, just draws you down closer to the event horizon core, in my opinion. If you want to have a personal relationship with your creator or God, that's one thing. But big religion and its formality and I was talking to my friend the other day, where you take to the Catholic Church. We have to do the big first communion and this and that. To me, that is just dots and points in the circle that draw you down, and its goal is to draw you down the funnel enough where you have no chance of reaching up and finding the path out. This is where we get into separating ourselves. We're attached to 20 dots in each one of these, then next month make it 15 dots in each one. Slowly exit the matrix. Slowly detach. Step out of your Jacob Marley chains. It says love, lust. Did I write here you can't have a family? No, but there's, again, what I talked about with the constant pursuit of it. It's not just It's raising a family. I mean, I don't, there's people with all different opinions on that, whether that attaches you more to the Matrix or not. I mean, I don't get into that. I don't have a family, and always knew I wouldn't, and I know deep down I never will. I always knew it. Why? Who knows? But there's, in each one of these, I'm like entertainment. I'm going to watch a movie tonight. I'm not going to be afraid of that. But I feel I've done enough work that I'm close to the top, where I can find that path out. I've given up being sucked down towards the core in all these different areas. And I'm sure there's many areas I'm forgetting. I just drew it as 6 general slices, so you get a sense as to what I'm talking about here. But at the bottom it says, this is its game board. This is its field. If you're playing, I should have just drawn the Trivial Pursuit game board. If you're playing its game, not just playing because, I'll play a game after Thanksgiving with relatives I haven't seen, but people are just so engaged at winning in each slice. They're striving for more and more. They're striving to touch more and more of these George H.W. Bush points of light, pull them even closer. I mean, Scarface, I'm looking at the Love and Lust, and Scarface comes to mind. One of my favorite, oh boy, big fight here. I'm back. Zara just can't leave Bootsy alone. Just, 2.5 years they've been living together, but you just have to constantly harass old Bootsy. The Tortie cat, they do have this weird thing called tortitude. They are, you really want a roller coaster ride, get a Tortie. Sorry. Scarface says, Tony Montana says to his friend, no, you got it wrong. In this country, what does he say? First you get the money, then you get the power, then you get the woman. But I presented this in the book, and I presented this before. It was the opposite. All Tony Montana, not my friend Tony Montana, all he was interested in is the power. That's all he cared about, was the power. Remember what he said to Michelle Pfeiffer? He said, with a woman like you at my side, I go straight to the top, baby, straight to the top. With a woman like you at my side. So he lied to his friend. It's first in this country you get the money, then you get the power, then you get the woman. But for himself, the power was everything. He had tried to attach to so many different of these points in terms of pride, status, ego, love, using Michelle Pfeiffer just as like a trophy wife, in other words, to help him in some way I could go straight to the top, baby. That's terrible, I know. That's terrible, I know. So he sucked, obviously a guy like Scarface or the American Psycho are going to suck themselves right down next to the core of the event horizon. He say, it's a Cadillac, baby. It looks like somebody's nightmare. It's a cream puff. As if she wouldn't get in the big yellow Cadillac. It looks like somebody's Sorry, what's next? Again, the bottom says, this is its field. This is its game. The more you attach to these little dots in each of the distraction categories, the more you get sucked down the trumpet or down the funnel towards the core. And you get too close to that singularity, there ain't no escape velocity that's going to get you out. This is the way I see reality, the way it presents itself. Not that anything I read, I don't read much of anything. I don't even read comic books anymore. Just by observing its tactics, what it does or what it wants people to engage in, how it baits its hook. This is how it works, in my opinion. This, again, does not sit well, or this is in contrast to what the no consequences people would say. It's all for nothing. It works hard, I guess, for nothing. There's nothing that can harm you. There's nothing it can get from you. Again, it's just every time I analyze its tactics, it is in contrast, or it's not compatible with what the no consequences people present. Very similar to Alan Watts. The spiritual aspect of you can never ever harm it. You can never make a bad decision. The aspect of you that's not here would never allow you to give any parts or pieces of yourself away. You're never in any danger. Then what is this? We're looking via this horrible graphic at the structure of all of society and culture. What's it set up like this for then? If there's no risk at all, I always come back to this. I hope you're right, but I'm going to play this game like there is a risk, like you can lose. And I need to get close to the end of that trumpet to find the way out. There's only one little path inside of an endless maze of truth pursuits. Matt, you get in that truth pursuit slice, you're golden. No, you're more screwed than almost anybody because there's more hardcore things to attach to in these points inside the truth community, the little dots as I represent them here, that will suck you down hardcore towards the core and into other areas like fear, like entertainment addiction, etc., etc. If you finally get into that truth pursuit category, which is a normal thing for real people to finally say the news is bullshit, this is bullshit, everything's bullshit, I'm going to separate myself from it, I'm not going to watch the news, I'm going to disengage from it, it's all lies, it's all manipulation, then you have that's when the real hard work starts. Because it is possible somebody in the truth slice here could pull themselves down closer to the core of the event horizon, even closer than people that are down the cul-de-sac that just engage in trivial shit. You can screw yourself. The risk of the game stakes, if you get into that slice called truth pursuits, are higher, in my opinion. And there are a lot of Christians here at this channel, and I know you've been firing rubber duckies for 10 minutes at least. Matt, that one path out there, if you can clear through all the noise and BS that is laid down, the yellow breadcrumbs on purpose laid down on top of the truth pursuit slice, that one path out, Matt, is John 3:16 new to you, Matt, you obtuse son of a bitch? It's the path of Jesus Christ out. I hear you. I'm aware that would be your position. I'm not there. Okay, I'm not. You guys talk about a relationship with Jesus Christ. I don't know who that is. I don't know who that is. I'm not going to give all myself over to something I don't know at all. We'll read the Bible. I've tried. I can't understand the darn thing. It's also, the Bible's been in the hands of creeps for about 1,700 years, 1,700 years. Before then, they let the people see it and read it. So I'm supposed to assume that they haven't manipulated it in they haven't had it in their own dungeons for 17 days. They've had it for 1,700 years. So why would I think they didn't screw with it? So see what I'm saying? I don't trust the creeps. That's not a new concept here with this channel. I don't really think the creeps have what's best for us in mind. So they've controlled the Bible. Okay, if you have a relationship with Jesus Christ, that's wonderful. That doesn't mean anything to me. Maybe someday I'll have an epiphany. At this point, I do not. The core of the Christian philosophy doesn't line up with this reality graphic or any of my reality graphics the way I've studied it over the past 12 or so years. So the Christian, look, there's a lot of different viewpoints, but basically you could be entrenched and engaging with all thousands of these points and all these different not milk distractions and temptations and ways to suck you down closer to the core of the event horizon. You could be way down the funnel, running around doing the wrong things, pride, ego, going to get your double masters from Columbia and Harvard and Bard University, your Bard College, the liberal bastion of the universe, and doing all this stuff wrong. But then you just need that. You have that relationship with Christ. That's it. That's it. No, it doesn't matter what you did. The sins, you just get out. Doesn't resonate with me. Sorry. So then the Christians would say back to me, and rightly so, okay, you son of a bitch, you don't like our way out, but you ain't got no answer yourself, do you? What's the way out then, you genius? Well, that does lead us to the biggest question, doesn't it? I don't know exactly the way out. And when you solve a Rubik's Cube, you kind of know when it's solved. Like, look, all the sides, the colors match. You know when you've solved it. It is not going to be like the end of Ready Player One when all of a sudden the damn video game will just melt before your eyes and someone will pop through with $1 million check, or you'll rise up into the air like a golden ball. I don't think that is the biggest question. You know, these Christians going back to Matt, you don't know if you found the right path then. You looking for something, you don't even know what you got when you stumble upon it, you dumb son of a bitch. I hear you. But you don't know the path either. You're just trusting Jesus to guide you out. Okay, fair enough. Matt, you don't got no guide. You godless whores. You don't got no guide. You guys are screwed. Okay, well, we should start to examine, as we have many times over the years to a degree, but really examine the possibilities. Okay, if we're doing everything we need to do to separate and to rise up towards the outside of the trumpet, what is the path? Let's explore possibility number one, the best way Tony described it to me. Now, I was never able to articulate properly, according to Tony, what he told me. I don't know. He got upset at me like 100 times, but he tried. It wasn't the easiest thing to understand. I think I got the message pretty well, but okay, we'll see. We just talked about the Christian philosophy. The more evangelical version is John 3:16. You give yourself over to Christ and you're out. Exactly what needs to be done through Islam as a Muslim with the Prophet Muhammad, I don't really know. Buddhism, all I know is that, in Hinduism, you just reincarnate back, recycle back, potentially tens of thousands of times. And I don't know but what each religion presents. The Tibetan Book of the Dead, you got to navigate all these lights and all these inner demons and all this stuff. But each religion, of course, Matt, we got it. Each religion, even if it takes 20,000 lifetimes, each religion presents a way out to some degree. Okay, let's just leave it at that. We're not camping onto any big religion. So what do you got, old man? What toppings you got, old man? Okay, let's jump into the higher self concept as explained to me by Tony, which furthered my own understanding. I believe furthered my own understanding. I always believed that and I don't know the first time I mentioned this on the channel, but I always believed that the whole, and you've heard me say this a lot recently actually, the whole of you spiritually or non-corporeally is not here. All of you is not here. Whatever you call soul or spirit is not just in the body or smushed in the body like Will Smith in a lamp. It's not that simple. I've always believed a part of me is here. Tony comes along and basically says, that's correct. That he expanded on my current viewpoints. I'm not bowing down to everything Tony said. We had some disagreements and things, but overall, this is generally my position, and he helped expand my position. There are other things we'll look at, but I'm going to present this first, where higher self is the spiritual part of you that's not here, that wasn't put into the snow globe and into this game. And I was a little bit confused about this, thinking this higher self was all powerful and it was completely in control of everything. And Tony was like, no, you have to you are essential. The way he described it to me, you are an essential part of higher self. It's not like you're just the pinky of the higher self and, put the pinky in the cold water to see if you want to jump in or not, or to test it or to try it. It's not that simple. It's without certain incarnations of higher self, which he called us simultaneous incarnations, where there could be many others in different places or time periods. Not that it would be somebody you'd walk around the corner and run into. Different time periods. Time, as it appears to be linear to us, is just ridiculous. It doesn't exist that way outside the snow globe. Okay, we'll talk about all that some other time. It doesn't make sense. It's just a perception. Time is just a perception based on our limited senses. So he basically was like, okay, if the higher self has a bunch of these sequential, that's the George Bush creatures, the sequentials, according to Tony, the simultaneous incarnations, a few of you guys need to really come through for the higher self, or it will continue to send incarnations of itself back until it gets out of it what it needs to get out of it. So it's like I didn't realize this at first. He would say, you need to convince your higher self, like, we've done enough. We can walk out of this. We have the power to walk out of this. You have to do the work here. This is part of course, doing the work. Tony was a believer that whatever you believe you take into death, you'll manifest it on yourself. And you're not giving anything, the higher self, what it needs. It will continue to keep having to put aspects of itself into these reality systems as simultaneous incarnations. So karma was a big one that Tony had a problem with, and I completely see what he talked about. He'd say the idea of karma that may be attached to Buddhism. If you go into your death and you have these doubts that, oh boy, I didn't solve all my karma issues, and you carry these Jacob Marley chains, these weights, you're manifesting it on yourself. Karma, to many people, is the greatest attachment to this world that has ever been created, because nobody's ever going to believe, if they're a believer in karma, they've done absolutely everything perfectly, where they don't have one little Jacob Marley chain. And of course, most people carry a whole lot more weight than that. Oh, I treated my grandmother so horrible before she died, and all the karma to people like Tony is a absolute trick of this reality system to bind us here somehow. He believed that if you, I don't think I haven't talked to him for a while. Okay, there's reasons for that. We'll talk about that some other time. The David Icke Saturn Moon Matrix. I'm sure Tony would say, if you've been reading all his Saturn Moon Matrix Recycle Trap books, and you go into death and you believe that is what's going to happen, there's this almost impossible to overcome maze and tricks at death, and go into the light and don't go into the light, and you just you're scared because how am I going to navigate that, which is very similar to the Tibetan Book of the Dead. People, millions and millions of people, I don't know how many people regular Buddhism camp on to the viewpoints of the Tibetan Book of the Dead, like how many regular Buddhists in China would accept that. But all this, every day you have to navigate different demons and different lights and different this, and turn left and turn right, and you come out of it thinking, I'm never going to be able to do all that, and then you manifest coming right back after the vacation of the Bardos on Ryza, which is not a vacation. It's, according to Tibetan Book of the Dead, it's like demons and all this horrible shit. And you get back into a body, you're like, oh, thank God, I'm back in a body. You just right back. But I really, with all the inner knowing the dials turned to 10, it does make sense to me that you will manifest on yourself what you expect to get. And this is actually an argument for the no consequences people, who will say, Matt, you examining all the creeps and how they do business and how they move their minions around their strategio chessboard and all the stuff they do, because of all they're doing in your face, you believe there must be tremendous consequences for not doing it right, or giving away yourself, or giving away soul tokens, or analyzing the Harry Potter concept from the last 3 movies, Horcrux, and you put parts of your soul here in material pieces, like at the end of the Harry Potter, that Voldemort put part of his soul in a damn gem, and another part in a snake, another part in a wall, another part in a Twinkie. So you're just gonna, something like Tony would say, you're gonna just manifest that if you believe that stuff. Hey, Wes Penray seems like a nice guy. I've listened to him on and off over the years. I'm just relating it to what we're talking about now. If you believe there's this almost impossible grid you have to navigate through, somebody like Tony would probably say, you just created a grid at death, and there's a chance you can get through it, but so the no consequences people in this regard, they can use this against me. They would say, yeah, Matt, all of this society is set up to make you believe you haven't done enough, because you do manifest this stuff on yourself at death. In this regard, if you truly get at death what you believe you are going to get, then this is in line with the no consequences people, who, if they truly believe what they have told me, that there's absolutely nothing that can trap them, can trick them, can harm them. With full confidence, in this regard, that is tremendously powerful to take that mental attitude into the moment of death. Think about what most people have been trained to do going into the moment of death. And it's the opposite principle. You just look what reality has created and what they want people to do and believe, and the truth probably lies somewhere on the opposite. Even devout Christians, they're not, most don't go into death with complete confidence. And this is where I'm sorry to get back to Christianity, but even Greg would say, Greg, a very devout Christian, he would say 90 some percent, I think he even said once 99% are false Christians. That if you truly Greg would say, Greg would say, a real Christian would say, if you truly have a relationship with Christ and it is the way out for you. Now, if you have grandkids and things to do and responsibilities, you might want to go through all these heroic measures if you're sick, or endless rounds of chemotherapy and remission and all this. But if you don't have that, well, there should be no fear of death, zero. And, how many people that would call themselves Christians would be like that? No, they wouldn't. It's always an endless strive to stay attached to the world. A fear of death is one of the ultimate chains and attachments to the world, in my opinion. So, if you believe that John 3:16 is your way out, I mean, not that you should go jump off a bridge and welcome death. And I'm obviously suicide. I shouldn't have mentioned that. I know that's frowned upon, of course, but there shouldn't be any fear of death. You want to go through a year of hardcore chemotherapy and throwing up every 4 days, and a real Christian that believes every bit of John 3:16 should say, no, I'm not doing that. I'll be with Christ sooner. But how many actually do that and believe that when it counts, when they're up against it? Very, very few. So I believe Tony would say your higher self is closer to what some would call God or source. Of course, the more powerful entity is and again, like I'd be a little finger to higher self. All the fingers and toes are simultaneous incarnations. But he said, he stressed, don't think you're not important. The higher self needs you to do the work. I believe deep down the types of things we're doing here. The triple X diner scene. Well, I don't play this, telling higher self, I don't play this game any longer. We're not doing this anymore. And then having the action and deed follow the words. Doesn't mean you can't watch a movie on a Friday night or smoke a cigarette once every 2 weeks or so. I mean, I don't think we have to be perfect, but it's like, okay, a higher self, who knows, exactly how the relationship between the aspect of what you are and the aspect of you that's not here, that some people call higher self. Okay, I don't care. That's new age and new age and new age. Well, I don't care. Slap whatever title you want on it. I believe, deep down, I feel that all of me, the entirety of me, is not here in this body with blood and vessels and muscles and stinky stuff. There's something part of me that's not here. We don't know what to call it. That's where this higher self comes from. It's not new age. If you believe all of you, soul, spirit, is wedged in between the ears in the flesh suit, then it doesn't make sense to you. But if you believe there's a part of you that's not here, then you pretty much have to call it higher self, unless you want to name it. You want to name it Schmeagol, or a name from another character from one of your favorite movies. Name it whatever you want. I don't think it cares. But all it means, it's not new age. All it means is you don't believe the entirety of yourself is here. That resonates with me. And with me not knowing exactly what I have to do, my goal is to be completely convinced on my own that I've done enough. And then I pass that along to the part of me that's not here. I practice this all the time, whenever I can. Talk to the animals, Dr. Doolittle, talk to the higher self and say, get me the fuck out of here. Matt, you'll be like walking down the street and you'll just look up and try to have a conversation with your higher self? Well, not really. I'll walk around the street corner, like back in an alley, and look up and try to have the conversation. I don't want to be hauled away in a van, booked into the room, booked in a psychological room, but I do try to communicate with the part of me that's not here. Christians throwing rubber duckies. Matt, you're close, but communicate with Jesus. That's the part you want to communicate with the Christian God. I'm not there yet. I hear you. I respect your viewpoints. I believe there's a part of me that is not here. I will call it higher self. I'll name it. Okay, I'll name it. Ted, and I'll say to it, okay, we've done enough. Maybe every other incarnation or whatever, we've fallen for its tricks. We've pursued its doctoral degrees. We've pursued its wealth and its ego and its 7 deadly sins. I'm not doing that. I'm separating. I believe I am doing the work here, seeing through the dropping veils, seeing through the illusion. Then you say, higher self, we ain't doing this again. Homie ain't playing this again. Get me the fuck out of here. There's all sorts of weird analogies you can assign to this if you really want to. Or truth drops potentially in movies that may line up. The Hunger Games. You're Katniss Everdeen put into like a dome, into a snow globe. You're playing the Hunger Games. Who hire self is, whatever that your sponsor is outside that drops little parachutes, drops the little book of matches, and drops you a little whatever you can use there in the Hunger Games to survive. You're Katniss Everdeen. The Hunger Games. Your higher self dropped your ass in here like a tribute. So it's Katniss says, just, hey, according to that analogy, man, shake up, change the parameters of the game. Exactly. What'd she do? She shot that arrow up and electrified the damn screen, which broke the whole basis of the game down. You do what you need to do to break the basis of the game down. If you play along with it in each of these categories as it wants you to play its game by its rules, then, maybe Tony would say the higher self has to keep, sending incarnations of itself into this game. I think the break the rules aspect of what was in the first Hunger Games, or was that the second one where she broke the damn game? I think it was the second one where she shot the arrow up and electrified the screen and broke the game down. That's essentially what we need to do to a degree. The first step is to let all these points and all these different slices go, separate, move up towards the end of the trumpet, and then to do whatever you can to actually break down the game. One of the things that means for me, you can have your own interpretation, I hope I come up with a lot more, is because the entire society and culture and Not Nilk reality through its minions is designed to present, here we go again, learned helplessness, and then I follow with hopelessness, and you're a peon, and you need this to succeed, and you need that to succeed, and you're just the lowest of the low as the way it presents who you are. Then you take the opposite, and I play the game whenever I can, assuming what it doesn't want me to know, like it's trying to hide that I have the power to decide on almost anything. It always works to hide this if this were true. Like at the moment of death, you have that conversation. It's like all you had to do was declare it. You had full power. Nobody thinks to do it. They don't think it's up to them. They believe what the society and culture has beaten into them, that they're low creatures. You had the power to do anything you want, not to fly up into the air like Superman, but things like the stupid stuff, I've talked about before, where I'll drive by a roadkill. I do this. I'm going to live my life like this. Okay, maybe it'll be wrong, maybe it'll be right, but this is only helpful, in my opinion, in terms of we have the power to walk out of here, to convince higher self. I drive by a roadkill. What do I say? As dumb as this is, I always say from Cold Mountain, when she kills the goat for the meat, I always say to the squirrel or whatever, you were a real beauty, I'm sure, in life. And you go on to the highest possible level. Unless you did bad things that I don't know about, little animal crushed under the wheel of a tire. And then I always say, well, what makes you so special? How can you do that? Because I said so. That's why. And I do have the power to do that. But through there ain't going to be no traps and tricks that come for me at death. With full conviction, if you carry this into... Why? Because I said so. And I have that power. There's a reason they want us... The most powerful beings, they work overtime and overtime and overtime to believe we have no power, to believe we're low, to believe we need them for metrics for success and status. This gives themselves away. It gives the entire reality away. The most harmful thing, according to this philosophy, if you believe there's any truth in this and it's resonating with you at all, the worst philosophy in the world is a Buddhist philosophy. Kids raised, and I don't know a damn thing about it, but I do. Kids raised in Buddhist culture that have heard stories that, oh, there potentially any person you walk by in the mall is going to be your mother someday, because there's so many tens of thousands more lifetimes. If you've been brought up in that, what is going to happen to you at death? You have no chance. You know you haven't become even Bodhisattva. You haven't become even Bodhi from Point Break. You haven't done it. So it's like, okay, I'm just ready to do another. All you've heard about the Bardos and another body. You just bring it on yourself. These people don't have a chance. If from the moment they're 2 years old and 5 years old, they figure, oh, tens of thousands of lifetimes, they go into their death saying, well, I was a pretty good person, but I don't think I was Buddha. I don't think I really got it done. So, okay, I think another lifetime's coming, versus going in to the moment. The entire reality could be, or maybe even likely is, set up so you take the wrong mindset into death. It could be that simple. It probably is. You take the right mindset into death. Hey, higher self, get me the fuck out of here. We've done enough. I don't play it anymore. I've granted all these roadkills the highest levels. Now I'm going to grant myself the highest level. And I'm sorry, Christians, according to Tony and people that believe these sorts of things, he would say, yeah, you will get heaven, but it's not where you truly need. It's basically like just a reality off to the side. You will get heaven with Jesus. You could be there thousands of years until you realize, well, wait a second, this is just another layer. This is not the ultimate end all. That's what he would say. I don't know. I'm just repeating what he would say. So someone said, well, if you expect what you get at death, if you believe you will be in the land of milk and honey with Jesus, then you will be with Jesus. But it's not. It'll be like a false middle layer. Okay, that I don't know anymore to discuss it intelligently. Well, Matt, you ain't discussing it intelligently now, you son of a beach. Okay, I'm trying not to lose the Christian audience, but I got to keep it real. If I never talked about it ever, now that we're at this level, 100,000 feet looking down, if I just wanted to dance around it all the time, well, what would you think of me then? So again, I don't expect to find some glowing cave and just float through it and search outward for the Holy Grail. Do enough inner work, my guide will be myself. That's my belief. Whatever is this higher self. We'll say we're done with these simultaneous incarnations and these types of game boards. Okay, we some of the simultaneous incarnations, like this jerk Matt down here on this thing called Earth, has done enough. He's convinced me, or the aspect. Well, Matt, if everything merges back into higher self, what you know of as you as an individual could go away forever. So what? I trust there's something at the wheel. What is that country song? Jesus Take the Wheel? There's something at the wheel that knows what's going on, that knows what they're doing here. If the world was something entirely different, and truly whoever we call our leaders, we knew in a whole different world than what exists, of course, they were trying their best to help. And corporations, they want to make a profit, but they want to serve the client. And we didn't have this hardcore evil system we call not milk. That's just, really, it's as bad as you could possibly imagine. There isn't one part or one central pillar of society and culture that truly wants to benefit a real person. It serves itself. It gives just enough scraps to the people where they continue to go along with it and comply and not complain, where they'll get off their ass where the seat is warm. They're sitting on a damn heating pad eating a pile of mashed potatoes. It's a real evil system that's developed here. If everything was different and it was people working together, and none of what we see out our window would exist. If it truly, we have the power to, all diseases could have basically been, probably already the cures exist. Nobody would ever go hungry. Everybody would be taken care of. There would be stewardship of the environment, but plenty of excess. So there wouldn't, the greed would basically kind of the way they described the Star Trek utopia. Well, Matt, that ain't great either. All I'm saying is if that existed, maybe, we would think about coming back But I'm just saying that reality, though, is a truck. The analogy is what I've said many times over the last 2 years. It's a truck and tractor pull. As that truck floors it across the mud, the weight slides closer to it, gets harder and harder to pull. To me, the reality is designed to wake up real spiritual beings. It's a truck and tractor pull. Each decade, each day, forget decade, each day, it gets more and more ridiculous, more and more infuriating, more and more hard to deal with, more relationships killed, more of your friends acting completely insane. All this stuff it's a designed, maybe the creeps are served by it, but they didn't design the reality. The creeps did not design the reality. The reality, like wringing out a washcloth, gets so bad that it's forced the type of wake up that you and I are going through, where we go, okay, I see where society is going, higher self, and I'm not doing this again. Get me the fuck out of here. In some way, in many ways, the reality has rules, or there's a contractual basis of some kind. The creeps are here to serve themselves. Tony called them sequential incarnations, a completely different spiritual entity than you. That is, always used, I'll never forget the term, he said, they're game addicted. They want to come back into another body. They have remembrance of past selves. But their role here, the game is bigger than they are. Okay, they're always going to work for themselves and try to screw you. But to me, at a level that was designed way above anything these creeps can comprehend, to me, they're here to facilitate wake up and end up serving you, and then as attached to you, the part of you that's not here. So maybe they get more and more greedy. They get this, but then that's where the mistakes on purpose have to come through. Maybe to meet contract or quota or fine print, and that's where inflated tires come in and reality breakdowns come in and things that don't make sense. And more people notice. Not many, I hear you, just kind of still a small group, but still, it's this reality is a washcloth. It keeps wringing itself out. It gets more and more absurd, and maybe, the merit. The only merit that I would grant to anybody that says at some point this whole thing is going to reset or a catastrophe or whatever, seems possible at some point the reality at the base level, whoever designed it, could say that we can't get any more out of this. Anything in there, if they haven't woken up to this madness, they never will. And then fine, poof, you just morph out of here. But we have woken up to it. If that happens, there's no fear in it happening, because it's the whole reality was here to serve a purpose. And if anybody succeeded, we did. Who else succeeded here? We've tried to reject every trick. We've seen through every veil, and we're trying to work our way out of the trumpet here, away from the core distractions, the core of the event horizon ship, to get to the periphery of the trumpet so we can find the path out through the soul, the heart of the Vitruvian man, to find spiritual self. I mean, what more does anybody need to do? I don't think we need to be perfect. I'm going to watch Michigan play Ohio State at noon and eat a Wawa sub. And then I'm going to drink a beer, drinking beer during the afternoon. I don't think we have to be perfect. Why would we have to be perfect? How could anybody be perfect in this environment? Just know you have the power to make these decisions. You say, I'm out of here. I'm not doing that. What makes you think? What? Because I said so. And believe every bit of it. If the opposite is religion. If you want to look to an outside source and that entity needs to get you out, that's fine. That's not where I am, and I don't know if I'll ever come around to that. Thanks for listening.